Let's say this here is a beach in South America. You have an Indian tribe living over here. They come to the shores to fish and to swim and have a good time. One day a ship arrives from Portugal and they settle a camp over there. They come in contact with the natives and they exchange goods. And in agreement with the natives, they build a small village over there where both natives as Portuguese sailors are welcome. Then one day a ship arrives from France. A small ship. The people there have guns. And they arrive here and they tell everyone that this beach here is theirs. It's their property. Nobody's allowed to come over there. Now these folks are just strangers, just arrived. So the natives think, get out of here. We've been living here for centuries. Anytime a native came near, they were shot. So after a while, because the people wanted safety, they stayed away from that piece of beach over there. So eventually, it became the beach of the French pirate. But it was only a claim. And the reason this claim was valid because people stayed away from it out of fear for their lives. But here's the thing. After a while, the pirate didn't have any ammunition anymore. So now people stayed away from the beach purely out of safety. Because they think, what if he has a gun and the gun is loaded? So after 5 years, still nobody came over here. But some other Portuguese guy came there and asked, why is nobody going there? And the Portuguese sailor who was there knew, heard from the locals that the beach belonged to a Frenchman. So that Portuguese went there. He crossed the boundary, which didn't exist. He crossed the boundary by going onto the so-called land of the French pirate, and nothing happened. The French pirate was dead in his own house. He drank too much 2 months ago. He was dead for 2 months already. So what happened here? Someone came with a claim, and his boundary, his mental restriction was nobody should challenge my claim. And the way he defended this limitation was by enforcing this limitation onto others through violence. That's what boundaries are, claims. And those claims can only be real as far as people validate them, agree with them. And one way to force a boundary is by using violence on folks. That's all boundaries are. So boundaries are a narcissistic concept because they don't exist in nature, in reality. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because some of you, I seriously need to speak to you. Because some of you, you have a way of thinking that's debased, and this debased way of thinking endangers you. Am I insulting you? If you feel insulted, that's not on me. I'm telling you as it is. A lot of folks are taught, if you have good boundaries or firm boundaries, you're safe. What are boundaries? Mental limitations that you imagine. They don't really exist. And who uses this tactic? Narcissists do. Narcissists are all about boundaries. It's all about their will not being challenged. And anyone who dares to challenge their will, knowingly or unknowingly, has to suffer, has to feel, so that they are validated. Because the moment you don't validate their will, it's obvious that their will doesn't add up. They don't want to face this. So they attack you anytime their will is not validated. So that they can feel vindicated, so that they can feel relieved. So boundaries are a narcissistic concept that narcissists use to seek relief. But narcissists, through the media, and also through Hollywood, taught you that having good boundaries is a defense against narcissistic violence, or against violence as a whole. And that's a hoax. Boundaries as mental limitations can never offer any real safety. It can't. A subscriber just told me about a case. They made a movie out of it. It was this guy was part of a gang. That's bad news already. He's part of a gang. And a rival gang came and attacked one of his gang members. And he witnessed it. So in court, this was in the 90s, he testified against the rifle gang. Now, the government offered him witness protection. So he would relocate, receive another name and another job for a while. He refused because he thought, this is my house. I'm not going to leave my house just because someone can stand me or whatever. I don't know what exactly his reasoning was. But actually it was pride. He thought it's my home, so I'm staying here. He had his boundary. He had his mental limitation. And that mental limitation was, this is my house, I determine here, and others have to find a way to deal with it. What happened? He later was shot in his own home. Just like the parable I gave in the beginning of this video, this is just a beach. Anyone can come here and claim a part of the beach. But just because they claim it and repeat it doesn't mean the beach is theirs. It only becomes theirs fictively when people agree with it. Because even if people stay away from the beach because it so-called belongs to some Frenchman, the Frenchman doesn't literally nor naturally own the beach. It's just a claim. All property is a claim. This is not a university lecture, but I'm just telling you as it is. Nothing is yours naturally. It's only constructed as yours as part of a social agreement. So theft can only exist if there is a social agreement. Let's say now that this, and I'm going to go to the parable, that pirates came and claimed the beach is his. Okay? And a stranger from Spain came by on a sail ship and he decided to swim over here. Then people say you trespassed because it's not your property. But hold on a minute. That guy came here and there was no hedge, no fence, nothing, just open beach, and he was told you're trespassing. A trespass is when you violate an agreement. But here's the thing, was he part of that agreement? Nope. Was that agreement based on any form of reality? Nope. So the trespass didn't exist, neither did the ownership of the beach exist. But people invest in many social agreements without questioning them. And when you don't align yourself with their social agreements, they go off at you. Now, am I telling you to go to some shop and take things away because it's just a social agreement? No, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you to do things to get yourself in trouble. Absolutely not. What I'm telling you is see things as they are. Watch. In this case, you have an island. On this island are resources. There are people living on it, and they manage resources. And based on the management of resources, the people make social agreements who manages which part of the island. So trespassing is only part of that agreement. Apart from that agreement, there's no such thing as trespassing. So even the trespassing is fictive. Why am I mentioning this? Is because criminals and psychopaths see this. Criminals and psychopaths see what there is. They don't see the social agreements. They know social agreements exist, but they know they're just agreements. They know that in reality, you just need some physical advantage and you can get away with things. In that case of that guy from New Zealand, if he looked at the bigger picture, would realize, you know what? Those folks are out of their minds. They just want to relieve themselves. They may come at my house or look for me to relieve themselves, and I and my family may get hurt. You know what? I'm going to take the witness protection program, even though I don't want to leave my house behind. My safety and the safety of my family is far more important than this boundary that I'm holding on to. So, there you get it. Because he held on to a debased way of thinking, without realizing it was debased, he operated in unsafety. And that unsafety cost him his life and caused harm to the community. Psychopaths, predators, whether just narcissists or just criminals who aren't narcissists but just are out there to get something, they see what's there. A lot of human beings, they see social agreements. They don't see reality. Reality is around them, but reality is filtered through the social agreements they were conditioned into. But predators, they see reality. They see what's there and take advantage of what's there. So look, there are social agreements. I'm not telling you to go onto the soil that's claimed by some corporation, because you may get arrested and have all those other things after you. Even though it's just a social construct that doesn't exist in nature, worldly people hold on to their constructs, and they defend their constructs with their life, often at the expense of their own lives. So you avoid that. You quote unquote give in to the agreement, not because you naturally agree with it, but you're practical. So as a believer in this world, you're practical in your dealings with other people, not because you agree with what they're in agreement with. Theft, according to scripture, is when you take actions that either cause the loss of someone else's life or that leads to the loss of quality of someone's life. That's what theft comes down to. Because even in the Old Testament, nobody naturally owned land. Under the Old Covenant, every 50 years there was a reset, so that everyone of the whole Israelite community could benefit from the soil, because the soil belonged to the Most High. You get what I'm saying here? So look, let's say you live in a society where there's much inequality. You have a few rich folks that have a lot of resources at the expense of the majority. Now, you acknowledge that this agreement is there. You also acknowledge that the population is too coward to do something about it. So you get along with the agreement, so people won't have a reason to attack you or to arrest you, but that doesn't mean you agree with it. Meanwhile, you walk in biblical abundance to overrule the social agreement of the community. Why am I recording this video? Because I want you to be renewed in your mind. I want you to face and see reality as it is. It's only by being real that you can operate in the real. Let me repeat that. It's only by being real, that is your attitude, only when your attitude is real can you benefit from the real. A lot of folks are operating in unsafety and they're not even aware of it. Unlearn this hoax of boundaries. Yes, you have social agreements, and there's nothing wrong with having social agreements. Human beings cannot operate without social agreements. But realize social agreements are just social agreements. Okay? When they cause dysfunction and harm to the human population, the social agreements should be put aside. But in the world, social agreements are put above human lives and above human well-being. What do you do as a believer? Are you going to fight those worldly people? No, that's a trap. What do? You overrule them supernaturally. So let's say you need to have a job because you need currency to pay the rent and to purchase groceries. Let's say there's racism in your country and you don't get a job. And they don't even want to give you welfare. And when you do receive welfare, it's too little. What are you going to do? Are you going to... This is what world people often do because they don't have any other options. Are you going to, quote-unquote, steal? What are you going to do? You do the following. You decree and declare abundance on your behalf, and sooner or later, they are forced to either give you a job, or the government is forced to dump some currency on your account, or someone just comes by and drops some groceries for you. One way or the other, you are alive and you are taken care of. Because in this case, the agreement of the community, racism, and all right-wing politics, all of that is at your expense. Yet they expect you to collide with agreements at the cost of your own life. That's wickedness. Now, worldly people, either they join gangs and they get involved in criminality to survive, or they prostitute themselves just to have an income. As a believer, you overrule worldly agreements, especially when those worldly agreements are at the expense of human lives. Stop thinking in terms of boundaries. Think in terms of reality. Because it's the reality that's real. Okay, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.